All right, thanks, family. Let's bring in the Vice President Vice President J.D. Vance. Thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends this morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
So the last time we had a one-on-one was in your house. So you weren't Vice President.
Right.
you were auditioning. You were the only candidate that said if you didn't get selected, you would be disappointed. Well, you got accepted. So congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you.
Let's talk about some of the issues that matter to the American people.
Sure.
And it's the president's new tariff policy. And when I think about what he got elected on is bring the cost down for people, but also bring manufacturing back to the country.
That's right.
These are gonna kind of hit each other, right? Explain to us how you get manufacturing here, but also get the cost down for the American people.
Well, if you go back a little bit, Lawrence, remember during the first Trump administration, everybody said that Trump's tariffs were going to be inflationary back then. What actually happened? We had 1.5% inflation. We had the fastest growing economy in a generation, and we had the beginning of a manufacturing renaissance in the United States of America. Then, of course, we had 4 terrible years of the Biden administration. But I think it's useful for all of us to step back and ask ourselves, what has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? And the answer is fundamentally it's based on 2 principles: incurring a huge amount of debt to buy things that other countries make for us. And to make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. That is not a recipe for economic prosperity. It's not a recipe for low prices, and it's not a recipe for good jobs in the United States of America. For 40 years, we have gone down that pathway. We've seen closing factories. We've seen rising inflation. We've seen the cost of housing so high that most Americans can't afford to buy a home right now. President Trump is taking this economy in a different direction. He ran on that, he promised it, and now he's delivering. And yes, this is a big change. I'm not going to shy away from it, but we needed a big change, Lawrence. We cannot keep going down the Joe Biden globalist pathway where we have $2 trillion of peacetime debt and deficits. We have manufacturing disappearing. That is not working for Americans. We've got to take this country in a different direction.
Mr. Vice President, there does seem to be a disconnect. You see Wall Street and the media and the markets, and they're freaking out right now.
Yep.
But then I look at those workers that were in the Rose Garden yesterday, and they're celebrating. I think about all the diners that I've done across the country and all these businesses saying we've lost manufacturing here, and they're celebrating the move. What is the disconnect between the market and the people, those workers that are cheering this on right now?
Well, I think on one hand, frankly, a lot of people have gotten rich from American jobs moving overseas, but American workers have not gotten rich. And frankly, American companies have not gotten wealthy from the increasing growth of foreign competitors manufacturing overseas. They, as the president says, Lawrence, these foreign companies, they charge us ridiculous tariffs. They engage in a lot of non-tariff practices like currency manipulation. That has been awful for Main Street in the United States of America. It's meant those diners, their customers don't have jobs anymore. It meant those great steel mills, those great auto plants have closed down and their workers have been laid off. What I saw yesterday in the Rose Garden was incredible enthusiasm because a lot of those workers, they've been working hard for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, young and old, were in the Rose Garden yesterday. They've never had a president who stood up for their jobs and stood up for American prosperity. They finally see something has shifted. There were Democrats out there, Republicans. There were union and non-union workers alike. They know this is a big change, but we need a big change in this country because what we've done, what we did under the Biden administration, it just wasn't working.
So, Mr. Vice President, I know a lot of MAGA folks, a lot of Americans that are cheering the president on, especially when he takes it to other countries.
Sure.
They feel like we've been screwed for a long time.
Yep.
But I also know people that come from our background, they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Of course.
And they want to do the patriotic duty of taking it to these other countries, but it's going to hit them a little bit. They feel. What can you tell the American people that they just can't afford an extra $3 here and there about the government making up the difference from that? Will costs go up at some point? Will this just be temporary? Are we talking 3 months or 6 months?
Well, we certainly hear, and I appreciate, how I grew up.
I know.
I grew up in a family that often did live paycheck to paycheck, and we know a lot of Americans are worried. So we are fighting very hard to bring prices down. We're going to have the biggest deregulation in the history of this country. We're doing a lot of things and already have done a lot of things to lower the cost of energy. You heard the president mention this yesterday. Eggs, when we came in, were at a 10-year high, and all of a sudden they've dropped 60% just in the 2 months of the Trump administration. What I'd ask folks to appreciate here is that we are not going to fix things overnight.
Yeah.
Joe Biden left us, this is not an exaggeration, Lawrence, with the largest peacetime debt and deficit in the history of the United States of America, with sky-high interest rates. You don't fix that stuff overnight. We know people are struggling. We're fighting as quickly as we can to fix what was left to us, but it's not going to happen immediately. But we really do believe that if we pursue the right deregulation, we pursue those energy cost-reducing policies, yes, people are going to see it in their pocketbook. They're also going to benefit from the fact that foreign countries can't take advantage of us anymore. That means their jobs are going to...
I don't think you can talk about this, the tariffs, and not talk about the tax cuts as well that we're expecting. Is this to offset some of the cuts that we plan on expecting? Will this be a permanent measure, or are we thinking when it comes to the scoring of this bill, we're going to be able to get cuts as a result of this?
I wouldn't think of tax cuts as a way to offset the tariffs. Here's the way that I think about it is, again, for 40 years, we've had an economy that rewards people who ship American jobs overseas and raises taxes on American workers, and we're flipping that on its head. We're going to cut taxes for American workers and for American companies that build here. We're going to make it harder to ship American jobs overseas. It's a total shift in the way that we've done economic policy in the United States of America, but it was necessary. So yeah, we're going to cut your taxes. You're going to have more money in your pocket, and that's of course going to help you deal with the cost of inflation, but that's not about offsetting the tariffs. They work together. We want to penalize people for shipping our jobs overseas. We want to reward hardworking Americans. It's all part of the same policy.
Get to some other news, because there were some reports that came out that Elon Musk is leaving. Now, of course, the president had already said he was only going to be here for a temporary basis.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Doge will continue after Elon Musk. Will he still be an advisor to you and the president? I know y'all have a great relationship. Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, that report I saw was total fake news. Yeah. Elon came in and we said, we need you to make government more efficient. We need you to shrink the incredible, vast bureaucracy that thwarts the will of the American people, but also costs way too much money. And we said that's going to take about 6 months. And that's what Elon signed up for. But of course, he's going to continue to be an advisor. And by the way, the work of Doge is not even close to done. The work of Elon is not even close to done. You look at all of the fraudulent grants that they found. You look at people who are 150 years old, who are fraudulently collecting Social Security payments. You see our Social Security system, 40% of the people who are calling in are actually committing fraud. That means the 60% who need their Social Security checks are waiting in line. Doge has got a lot of work to do. And yeah, that work's going to continue after Elon leaves, but fundamentally, Elon is going to remain a friend and an advisor of both me and the president, and he's done a lot of good things. People don't realize how vast and uncontrolled the bureaucracy was. We've started to chip away at it, but there's a lot of work to do. It's not going to happen all in 6 months. It's going to take a long and
Tell us about the news when it comes to TikTok. It looks like the president is going to announce maybe today some proposal. Maybe America owns 50% of TikTok. A private investor will own the other part. Is that going to happen today?
So I don't want to get ahead of any presidential announcements here, but what I've said is we've been working very hard, me and the president, the entire team, to really accomplish two things. First of all, you want to make sure that the TikTok app in the United States is not spying on people.
Right.
It's good for national security. You also want to give people access to this incredible platform, which, as we know, that's where a lot of young people get their news. That's where a lot of young people found out about the policies of the Trump administration. And we got to accomplish both of those things. I think that we're in a good place. We're going to keep on working at it, but I'll let the president make that announcement.
If it doesn't come out before the deadline, because I know the president extended,
it'll come out before the deadline.
Will come out.
We had a couple days to continue working on it, to finalize some things, and of course, we're going to let the president announce whatever we ultimately decide.
Let's talk about some of the lawfare in this country, because I think it's important.
Of course,
we're seeing judges block illegal immigrants that came into the country